It is my privilege that we can continue our study in the book of Daniel, and we have today the 11th chapter that is entitled From North and South to the Beautiful Land. We remember that nothing is made without a purpose, and the book of Daniel was given that in the last time there should be wise teachers that lead many to the path of righteousness. They have a clear identity, they are the children of God, and they have a clear character which shows the revelation and the righteousness and love of God in their own life. And they have at the base of all their actions the law of God. Now, we have come to the 10th chapter, and we have seen in our last presentation that there is a fight in the background of our visible world. There was the angel Gabriel, who was resisted by the prince of Persia to come earlier to Daniel to give him the answer for what he has prayed. And Michael had to come to help after 21 days. So let us look to the big picture of that controversy. Lucifer, the dragon or the serpent of old, is in the background, and he works through his agents. Those are the leaders of the world, church and state, and also normal people. So in Babylon, he is the prince of Babylon. For Medo-Persia, he is the prince of the kingdom of Persia. For Greece, he is also the angel prince of Greece. And in the Roman Empire, he is the prince of the Roman Empire. And in the last days, he is the prince of this world. So he uses human instrumentalities because all humans that are born on earth are born under his dominion, and he wants to keep them there, and he wants to instruct them in his lines. And on the other hand, there is Michael, who came and overcame him. He's the chief of prince, he's your prince, the great prince, and we have identified Michael as being Christ because he's the only one that is your prince, is the only one who overcame Satan as a human, and so he has no power over him. And so Christ is the only one who can come and save. And he's our Savior. But what Christ requires and what cannot be separated from Christ is his church, or is the people of the covenant. So as Christ instructs his people behind the scenes and struggles and fights so that the devil cannot keep us in his power because he overcame, he cannot be separated from his people. If the devil can do something against Christ, he must touch his people. He cannot touch Christ. But if he can mislead his people, then that instrument that should enlighten the world is insufficient. And then the whole plan that God has with his church to be a savior of life unto life for humanity will not be accomplished. And so we are in this battle that chapter 10 reveals to us. And in order to understand it even better, we read the last two verses of chapter 10. It says, verse 20, Then said he, this is Gabriel, Knowest thou wherefore I come unto thee? And now will I return to fight with the prince of Persia. And when I am gone forth, lo, the prince of Greece shall come. But I will show thee that which is noted in the scriptures of truth. And there is none that holdeth with me in these things, but Michael, your prince. So he comes to share that he has to go back. And together with Michael, resists the power of the devil, resist the power of the prince of Persia or Greece, which is always Lucifer together with his angels. Now, in chapter 11, he reveals all those things, and he says, also I in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him. So from the beginning, there is behind the scene a battle. And yes, in chapter 8 we see that the prince of Babylon is not there anymore, because it would not play any role anymore in the life, in the history of the people of God, in the future history of the people of God. That's why in chapter 8 we start with Medo-Persia and go to the end of time. Now here in chapter 11, where is the battles of the kings of the north and the south, starting with verse 2, the angel explains to Daniel and gives him a history in advance. He says, and now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the fourth shall be far richer than they all. And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Greece. And a mighty king shall stand up, that shall rule with great dominion, and do according to his will. And we could follow on this chapter, but I want just to help to see the big picture, and then everyone can study the details, taking a history book, and see how everything fulfilled exactly like the angel foretold it to Daniel. So the beginning of the vision of Daniel 10 is in 536 before Christ. And here we have in the center the people of God, Israel, the Jewish people that has to return from the Babylonian captivity and rebuild Jerusalem and the temple. And later on we have the church of God. Both were called to be the light for the restoration of man. They are not separable from their master and king, Michael, their prince, who has them as his representative on earth. So we will see the battles between them. So the 4 kings in Persia, and then comes Alexander the Great, if you read further, and then 4 successors in Greece, and then it describes step by step until we come to the king of the north, which is the Roman Empire with many kings and Caesars. So here is the king of the north, and then it starts in 510 before Christ, but it wasn't immediately a big power, and it ends in 476 after Christ. And then takes the place of the king of the north is the bishop of Rome with many popes. And that starts in 538 and goes till 1798, when the pope was taken prison by the French Revolution, the general. So here we have this place, and of course the king of the south with Egypt, which is very clear here, with many kings, and later on there are many other kingdoms that are put under the name king of the south. And in the center of it is the first coming of Christ. We find it where it is said here, verse 22, and with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant. So this is Christ, very clear, as in this description in 31, he is killed by the king of the north. And so the message goes on. We have the 2,300 years starting from 457 to 1844, as we have seen last time. And from there on, from 1798, we have the end time and the second coming of Christ. Now, it is a good study to go through all these kings and all those details that the angel describes, but we want to take that out what is relevant for us and our time, since we live in the end time. And there is something in this chapter that will be repeated in the end time, because it's a model that took place in the past, and it will be again in the same way repeated. And that is written in verse 30, starting from verse 30 to forward on. For the ships of Shittim shall come against him, this is against the king of the north, and he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. So he goes against the people of the covenant. And the people of the covenant are Christ's people, because they are in a covenant relationship with him. And he intelligently, that is, with cunning device, he can deceive those who have forsaken the holy covenant. And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall be corrupt by flatteries, but the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. That's a very encouraging thing here, that the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many. Yet they shall fall by the sword and by flame, by captivity and by spoil many days. Now when they shall fall, they shall be helpen with a little help. But many shall cleave to them with flatteries. And some of them of understanding shall fall to try them, and to purge, and to make them white, even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. So these scenes are taking place in the time around 538, starting from that point where the king of the north, or the bishop of Rome, goes against the people of the covenant. How did he do it? So it is not a battle in the first place in army forces, but a spiritual battle of deceiving, of introducing into Christianity heathenism. So they combine heathenism and Christianity, making heathen customs Christian customs. This is the way how they took away the daily, that is the message that the people of God must have. Now they have no message. Now it's all a amalgamation between good and evil, and we have in the church idolatry, we have saints, we have statues that we bow down to, and it's heathenism made with Christian words. In this way, he could deceive those who have lost their holy covenant. And in this way, he installs here and he pollutes the sanctuary of strength. Now, of course, we have here translations to deal with, and we have to interpret them, and we must understand what's the sanctuary on strength. And in German, it's the sanctuary that is on heaven, or it's on a fixed place, and that is the sanctuary in heaven. Now, the Bishop of Rome cannot go to heaven to do there something wrong, but he can make heaven's sanctuary of salvation a devastated place if he takes the people that has to work on earth and give the message, their message away. And so by taking away the daily sacrifice, and we identify that as the gospel, taking away the gospel, taking away the means by which humans can be saved, it is created a place of abomination that makes desolate. So practically, the way into the sanctuary, the way into the place where you can be saved is closed. It's closed because the people of God have forgotten the covenant and came into a close relationship with heathenism and mixing them both together. And it says this, and such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. This is, you can corrupt a person by promising him something good. Because we all want the good. And so he could win people and do wrong with them. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. So there is a remnant among those that keep the covenant. And they that understand, so we see that those who understand to teach. They are teachers. You see, I'm happy because in this way the language shows that he seduces them intelligently. So he comes with with mind issues to them. They are deceived by flattery. But on the other hand, those who have understanding, that means they have reason, they can judge from effect to cause. Those who understand. One of the greatest problems is that people don't understand. And here are those who understand. And those who understand among the people shall instruct many. So these are the teachers. It's exactly that which we repeat in our time. That's why this passage is most important for us, because it shows how it will be when our time comes to teach. Yet they shall fall by the sword and by flame, by captivity and by spoil many days. Yes, it will happen. Many will fall. And even in our days, by the sword and by captivity and by martyrdom. Now when they shall fall, they shall be holpen with a little help. So this looks like from outside some help them, but most who help do not help them because they want to help them, but because they cleave to them with flatteries. So it's not sincerity there. And he says now, and some of them of understanding shall fall. And this is not a fall into idolatry or fall into being caught in deception, but they shall be cut away to try them and to purge and to make them white. You see, there is never possible that the church of God, the people of God, can ever stand in front of the world except they are pure. That's why we find the same group in Revelation chapter 12, in which it says that the dragon was wroth with the woman, and he goes and fights against the remnant of her seed. 12:17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, with keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. So in order to get that statement to keep, that you keep the commandments of God, you must be pure, because no one that sins keeps the commandments. So this must be pure people. And before in the chapter it says they have washed and make their garments white in the blood of the Lamb. So you see, this is clear language, which it says that they must be clean, they shall be tried, they shall be purged, and to make them white, even to the time of the end. So those who will give the last message will be pure people. Because how can they do it if they are not pure? So let's go to the last period of this world's history. It's also related here in chapter 11 of the book of Daniel, starting from verse 40. It says, "And at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships, and he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over." So the king of the south makes an attempt against the king of the north, but he has no chance. "And now the king of the north, he shall enter also into the glorious land." So what is the glorious land? Here we have today second coming of Christ, the third coming of Christ. We have the end time, the millennium, and the final judgment. And we have in the center the church of God, the light for the restoration of men. And how does it come that the king of the north can in the end time enter also the glorious land? Now we know that never an enemy entered during the history of the Bible the glorious land, except the glorious land was not pure. They were unfaithful. And because of unfaithfulness, always the enemies could enter the glorious land. And God allowed it and used it in order to purge and to cleanse His glorious land, His church. So the spiritual state of this end time people of God is Laodicea. It's the same darkness that exists in the Middle Ages, not, I believe, even stronger, because we think we know more than them. But in the end, we are more in darkness than they. And Laodicea cannot in this way bring the message. They must be made white. And so God brings the king of the north, who goes against the king of the south, and they also enter the glorious land. They come and they purge. It's the hour of temptation that will come over the whole earth. And this hour of temptation will bring the sifting and cleansing. It will bring the separation of the good and the bad. It will bring the separation of those who keep the covenant and those who have forsaken the covenant. When that happens, when God will bring the hour of temptation that will come through this coming together of the king of the north and the king of the south, and they enter the glorious land, they will also destroy, come into the church of God. But when they come, they also can take away those who have forsaken the covenant, not those who are faithful, the remnant, which is here Say, and they who know their God shall be strong and do exploits. Because in these last days, some people are not taken prison by the king of the north. And we understand that this is a spiritual battle because it's written in many other prophecies of the Bible and especially in Revelation. So we have here a spiritual battle, and he says, and in many countries shall he overthrow, but these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom, Moab, and the chief of the children of Ammon. Now, who are these? And it's three people who were, yes, close related, yes, to the root of Abraham. Who are they? And what they are, for me, looking to all other explanations of the prophecies, they are the Gentiles. Now, they are not the spiritual people. It's not like it says here, and he shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape, but he shall have power over the treasures of gold and over silver, over all the precious things of Egypt, and the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his steps. So they will not escape. So the religious people will not escape his cunning device. So they will all be drunken by the wine of Babylon. But those people, the secular countries of today, represented by these three people here, the Edomites and the Moabites and the chief children of the Ammon. So they will be the people that through the message of the remnant will come and will choose, because they will escape the devices of the king of the north. This will be millions of people who will be taught by whom? And now they that understand among the people shall instruct many. This is those who are strong, the remnant, they will make great exploits. That means they will bring in the Gentiles that are missing. And I can see only the Gentiles. I can see only one kind of people who you can teach in the last time, and those are the secular people. All other that have been, I say so, made narrow by religion will not be open for the gospel message, because they already were sifted out. They forgot the covenant. But here, these people who were, I say so, spared by God, the secular ones, they are people of understanding. They are people who you can teach, and they will be the great exploit of the remnant. And yes, it will be a time where many will fall, and by the sword and by flame, by captivity, but nevertheless, none of them will be lost. So millions of people will join the church in those days when this will happen. And some of them of understanding shall fall. I mean, they will be maybe killed, to try them and to purge and to make them white. So we must be made white. In those days, the remnant will be white. None will fall in the way of forsaking. No. Those who pass through the sifting process, they will be pure. They will be those who have said, here is the patience of the saints. Here are those who keep the commandment of God and have the faith of Jesus. You can never have this description except you're a holy person, never sinning again. So this remnant will bring in that promise, will bring in that great desire of God will be fulfilled in these last days, where He will have a people that are true to the covenant, that are bringing the battle to an end. And then when at the end only 144,000 remain, those pure people that are sealed for the time of trouble, the 7 plagues, and then remains only the people who have been deceived by Babylon, they will go through the 7 plagues and they will have an experience that they will not return, even though God brings them troubles. They are in a place of no return, and the 144,000 are in a place of full trust in God, even though He comes to them as an enemy. And by this, Jesus will come. And in this time, it says, "But tidings of the east out of the north shall trouble him, therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly to make many away." This will happen in the 7 plagues. "And he shall plant the tabernacles of his place between the seas in the glorious holy mountain, yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him." This is Revelation 17 and 18 described. "And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even so the same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some of everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt." So we'll see to that special resurrection, we'll see later in our next presentation. But here Michael comes. He will stand up and he will bring the battle to an end. He will come the second time and he will be united with his people of the covenant, never to be separated again. What a great plan of redemption. Now we are in a covenant relationship with Him by faith. But if we are going to be faithful, doing our job when we are called, we will be united with Him, never to separate again. Well, these are the great outlines of the last days event. The main issue is the people of God, are the people of God. And God will only let the hour of temptation, this battle between the king of south and north, putting in the center the church, the people of God, will only happen when they are clean. And then they will be sifted, and then the remnant will be strong and make great exploits. And many, many of the Gentiles, of the secular people, will understand the teaching of those who have been trained in the school of Christ, who got the understanding of the gospel, who can explain and teach how salvation works. Do you want to be among them? I want to be among them, because the time is at hand, and we must stand up and connect with our King and make the plans and be cleansed and purified for that day, where those who know their God shall be strong and do exploits. Amen.